Hey James, how are
Hey
you doing?
Nicole, I am good. How are things?
Things are good, all said. Yeah, we're hanging in there. We've really moved our business over to digital and are hosting a lot of virtual events and virtual conferences, which I guess we were doing before a lot. How are you doing?
Live from Newmarket.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how we do it. We
Yeah,
have mobile studios, I guess, everywhere across the country that our team is. So
yeah,
we're just trying to reach everyone that we can, whether it's a client or someone who's going to be a client or someone who's a client elsewhere. We're here, and
yeah.
we're trying to make hay while the sun is shining and make lemonade out of lemons and whatever. You've heard it all. So
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So
Help the companies navigate through this difficult time is
yeah,
really what we're all here for now.
yeah, exactly. So what we do with these shows is we do them almost every day now, and the idea being that we have a chat, however long it takes, doesn't matter to me. I have nowhere else to go. What we want to do is just hear a little more about what you guys are doing at Grit, hear how you're getting through things. We'll talk about some of your initiatives that you mentioned. You said things are changing, so I'd love to talk more about that. And then whatever else you want to talk about, it's our time to you know to do whatever we want. It's kind of fun
Exactly.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you first and foremost, because we're on the CSE account right now, why don't you tell the audience that's checking in what it is that you do, Nicole? What is Grit Capital? And we'll go from there.
So Grit Capital is a capital markets advisory firm. So we help both private and public companies meet and get exposed to investors. So we do that through a number of ways. We do that through meetings, one-on-one meetings. We do that through Zoom meetings. We do that through our conferences and events.
Okay.
And then we also do that through our social media, which I was mentioning to you. We are just launching a new social media account with new branding, that's going to be a little bit more thematic and focus kind of on macro trends that are happening in the market rather than specific small caps.
Right.
So we find during this time, investors are more interested in kind of thematic, understanding where the market's going and what's happening, rather than drilling down on individual stocks.
Right. So, what are some of these themes then? Because it seems to me that there's a lot of people kind of shifting gears, or none, or if let's put it another way, there's things that we thought were going to be big a month ago, which are now sort of not even on the radar for a lot of people, and we've
Yeah,
kind of adjusted very rapidly as to what we think the new investment themes are going to be. So, like
yeah,
healthcare. Um,
yeah.
Maybe talk a bit more about what you see then in that thematic space. What are the trends that, because of this odd time that we're in, we're going to start having to appreciate better?
Yeah, so telemedicine and telehealth
Yeah,
is a big theme we're seeing, and there's a number of companies listing, a number of private companies.
yeah,
But the fact that you don't necessarily have to leave your house to see a doctor, and seen even veterinarians are doing it. So we think that is going to be a very big theme. In the theme of health as well, we think healthy eating and kind of the future of food.
hmm,
So vegan foods, vegan proteins, non-dairy milks. A lot of the diseases we're learning has come from humans intermixing with animals in unnatural ways, whether it's eating them or these wet markets. So it's waking up a lot of people to the way we eat and changing that. And I also think just being home and spending this time, people are really prioritizing their health. They're doing that for a number of reasons. They've got more time on their hands. You're able, to cook your own food. You're able to exercise. But then you're also thinking in the back of your mind, if I do get sick, I want to be the best in the best health possible, so I'm able to get through that. So I think there's a number of factors driving that.
yeah. I've noticed through my own adjustments here at having to work from home. I used to have to wake up very early to get to work, and
Yeah,
I have two young kids, so that um, my day was sort of like going to bed at midnight, waking up at 5 a.m.,
yeah,
trying to sleep on a train, which, I'm not saying this is going to change, but when things get back to normal, but it does make me aware how important sleep was or is. And
yeah,
I'm enjoying having a full sleep register, I guess you could say. And also cooking. So,
yeah,
we've talked a lot on these dialogues that we've had with our guests and friends about just the better eating habits that we have at home. Because when you're not in a rush, you can actually get to the stove, use your fridge, and make something that's a little healthier, or at least made to order,
Yeah.
which keeps out the preservatives and the pesticides and everything else that we get at the food court. So,
Yeah.
no shots fired at the food courts of the world. I know you're struggling out there. Keep
Yeah.
grinding. I will be back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will not. And you talk about wet markets and things like that. I mean, yeah, I didn't plan on eating bats before this happened, but definitely not eating bats now. So if you throw a bat at me anytime for delicate, just keep it out of my
Just get right.
yeah.
I had
But
a
you're
flashback when we were going through the market in Israel and those rats ran out. Do you remember
yeah,
that? It was
yeah.
almost a year ago we were on that trip. So
Well, a lot's changed. I think a year ago we were floating in the Dead Sea. We could see Jordan. We just had a really crappy buffet, and I actually got food poisoning, I think the night before, and it was
yeah.
working its way through me. So definitely going to be a healthier eater. I'm not going to go full veg, but we do have a
Yeah.
veggie night, vegetable or
Yeah.
vegetarian night here. You mentioned plant-based eating. What is it about you that you're a plant-based eater? As far as I last checked, what is it about that space? Are you still excited about the Beyond Meats and stuff like that are, you know,
Yeah.
substituting the existing things that we used to eat, like, beef and chicken?
Absolutely, because I think but prior to Beyond Meat, you had people that were vegetarian or plant-based and they were really passionate about it. But what I see Beyond Meat doing is they're taking the consumer that wasn't vegetarian, wasn't plant-based, and they're making them eat less meat.
Right.
And they're showing people that plant-based meats can be just as enjoyable. It's also better for the environment. And I think we're seeing there's so many cases of kind of revenge of the animals happening right now with humans not being outside. Animals are kind of free to roam and kind of taking back the streets. So I think more and more, I was even just reading today that for the first time in, I think it was like 20 years, they're pouring out milk in Canada and the
I heard
US
that, yeah.
because consumers no longer want to drink it. They've turned to oat, dairy, coconut milks. So we're seeing a real shift in the way we're eating. So I'm still really excited about a lot of these plant-based companies. So I think there'll be more listing going public, and there'll be more momentum behind those
Yeah, it wasn't just
companies.
Joaquin Phoenix's speech at the Oscars that
No,
have taken people
no.
away from the milk. Okay.
No, I agree. And there's all these concerns now about at the slaughterhouses on workers. So, and
Right.
whether they're essential services. And throughout the planet right now, people are concerned about their meat supply. When we should educate people that there are alternatives to meat. But I know it's a big issue in the news right now.
Yeah, I've a personal story. I've got a friend who works at a meat factory, and
Yeah.
she hasn't seen her kids in like 3 weeks because she
Wow.
has to go to this environment and she just doesn't want to cross pollinate with her children. So
Yeah.
that's yeah, pretty incredible situation. Let's
Yeah.
talk about home fitness for a second. So I know you are a big Peloton rider. I'm sure you've been
Yeah.
hitting the Peloton pretty hard. What do we expect? Everyone I've talked to who doesn't have workout equipment has been dying to get like any shred of equipment into their house,
Yeah.
so they can lift some weights, get some bands, whatever. What do you see for that industry? I mean, this has got to be a bit of a encouraging situation for Peloton and people like that.
Yeah, I think Peloton's just exploding, just anecdotally, just through the friends I have. I think I had 5 friends order it last week.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think at-home fitness is just booming. There's a number of apps that I think are going to be doing very well. And for some of the people that don't have the weights at home, apps that you can do with bands or just your own body weight are just as effective. So you don't necessarily need the Peloton.
Yeah.
The other thing I've seen is a lot of local gyms actually renting out their equipment to people. So if
Really?
you're in
Oh,
need of equipment, I would
yeah.
just call your local gym because a lot of them aren't using their equipment and they're looking for money. So I think that's a good way. And then I would say the other big thing, which I'm trying to do, is just supporting your local businesses. So,
Yeah.
there's some people I know that are doing kind of $10 Zoom classes. So just supporting these people because they know how to do at-home workouts better than most people. But yeah, I think I was seeing the rise on Amazon of weights, and it's just right up.
Well, yeah, it seems to me like in this digital economy, or sorry, this digital communications shift that we've had to take on, we're going to be able to barter and share services through the form of knowledge and educating in real time. Because as you
Yeah.
say, we still learn best when we have that direct conversation. If I may, I want to give a couple of shout outs. So I know at
Yeah.
our house, we use Y Yoga. That's a Vancouver based studio, but they also have it here in Toronto.
Oh,
And
cool.
they've got an incredible suite of yoga lessons and stuff like that. Check it out if you're into yoga. And love the Beachbody app. Anyone who has
Yeah.
weights at home, Beachbody does a great job.
Amazing.
And you can watch the app, and they won't sell you shakes or anything sketchy like that. You just do the app exercises, and
Yeah.
you're set.
I'll,
So lots of options.
I'll share my favorite. It's called Les
Yeah,
Mills. So
Les Mills.
it's based out of Australia, and it's an app. It's
Mm-hmm.
2 week free trial, and then it's $25 a month. It is unbelievable the workouts they have on that app. The
Yeah.
music, the production, you feel like you're at a gym. You'd have no idea you're by yourself. And I find that has just elevated my workouts. But I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think once this is all said and done, we'll go back to wearing suits at the office? Or do you think this is kind of the death of the suit is one of our theories?
Oh, great question, Nicole. I don't think people will want to not wear something nice once in a while.
Yeah.
I think by virtue of people are not going to the office as much, they're going to probably have no, like now, I didn't feel like I had to wear a suit for this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a polo, it's branded. There's
Yeah.
like CSE somewhere on here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's going to probably, here's my take on it. I think it's going to make people a little more selective about what they do have. So
Yeah.
I think what they're going to end up saying is like, I have one or two really nice suits, maybe a couple nice get-ups, and then, you know, when I do go to the office 2 or 3 times a week, which maybe will be the trend, is that people don't go to the office so much, that what they do wear when they go in will be dressed to impress. So I don't
Yeah.
think it's going to hurt clothiers so much on the high end and mid, you know, even like bespoke, like type style clothiers. But I think people are not going to wear crap anymore, or not wear it as much and have it in the closet, because I think another thing is people are going to declutter a little bit. They're going to be in their
Yeah.
house, and they're going to want to have a little more space. And we've got now 2 or 3 or 4 months or however long to kind of declutter. And I just think we're not going to want to have piles of Gap clothes or whatever sitting
No.
in the closet. So that's
Yeah.
that's my long-winded answer to your very good question.
Yeah, it'd be
Uh,
a bit of the end of consumerism. I think we've, from the 80s onward, we've really built up,
yeah,
fast fashion, this feeling that you always have to be buying something or wearing the latest.
yeah,
And I think I was just discussing with my friends, one of the big lessons is you don't need to buy and spend as much as we all have been, which unfortunately is not that great for the economy. But that's the reality. I think this is a big wake-up call that we don't need all that stuff we've been going out and buying.
yeah. Are there any other industries that you think are going to benefit from this? Like I think we've talked about quite a few, like home fitness, but and food, but in education, I've encouraged everyone on my team to just take a master class or do something.
Yep.
Not that they're not busy, but if you've got time. Anything else you think is ripe for
Yeah.
evolution or revolution? Or?
So we're looking at gold. We think with governments printing money, the uncertain outlook with the economy, that gold is a good place to have part of your assets. So which kind of
Yeah.
leads me into an event that
Segue.
that leads me into tomorrow we're hosting a conference called the Masters of Mining. So we've got Eric Sprott, who is a big mining legend. We have Gary Brown, who's the CFO of Wheat and Precious.
Mm-hmm.
We have Sean Ruzin from Cisco. So we've got a lot of the mining heavy hitters just telling us their outlook on mining.
Right. And when we talk about the mining sector, you mentioned gold. Obviously, before all this, people were excited about battery metals and electrification and cars using batteries. Do you still see that being something of interest to people? I don't drive my car basically anymore unless it's to the grocery store once a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I think in the millennial generation, people were buying less and less cars and relying on Uber and public transportation more than ever. And I think this period is really solidifying that every house does not need its own car. On the electrification side, I still see a future there because of the environmental outlook.
Yeah.
And this just, giving people a little bit more perspective and seeing, there's more to life and we care more about the environment. So I do see more people moving to electric. The flip side is that gas is so cheap now. Is there really the incentive to switch over?
I don't. I mean, I'd still like to have an electric car, but
Yeah.
I literally filled my tank once, half a tank once in the past 4 weeks. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. I don't care how cheap it is. I'm not driving my car.
You're
So
not driving it. And yeah, so, what does that do for the automobile industry is realizing, yeah, we might be able to share cars. I know there's been a number of services that have launched to try and push people into that. But once again, this could be what happens. As a question for you, real estate market, how do
yeah.
you see the outlook for that?
Wow. Well, I started to see houses going up for sale in my neighborhood because it's spring, or at least
Yeah.
it's supposed to be spring. And real estate, again, back to that original point of how are people relating to home. So I think you're going to realize, like I did a year ago when I moved to Newmarket from Kitsilano, that I've got a young family. I want space. I think a lot of people are going to realize being so close together, especially with young families, they might actually take the jump. Real estate is going to be pretty accessible, both with all the depression economics, perhaps, but the access to capital will be so cheap. I mean, near 0% interest rates, mortgages are going to be, if you have any cash flow and if you have a decent job, you just go buy a house. And
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a migration of people of our generation just leaving the city and saying,
Yeah.
it wasn't worth living here to have access to all these things at the drop of a hat. It's gone. And I'm crediting I credit, and you can talk to me because I think you're still downtown
Yeah.
Toronto in Yorkville, right?
In Yorkville. Yeah.
Yeah. So every day I go to my wife and just say, like, I thank goodness we're with the children and we have the space and we can go and walk. I mean, it would have
Nice.
been tough for us to be back in Kitsilano, where it's one of the densest neighborhoods in the country. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you'll see people
Yeah.
just to make the jump.
Even me going out for walks, you kind of, you're ducking, you're moving around, and it's a little scary right now. And right, it does make you question being in the city versus the country. And even before this, I know a lot of people, just because of housing, I knew several people that moved to Collingwood, and being
Yeah.
able to do working from home now, you can move to Collingwood and still have a Toronto-based job and come downtown, once a week, a couple
Yep.
times a month.
Yeah. I am concerned for commercial real estate. There's, actually a very interesting person on our chat right now, Richard Carlton. His wife is a big real estate lawyer. There's a bunch of new builds downtown that are just paused, and
Yeah.
I just don't know what's going to cause them to come back and get excited to build those. I mean, there's always a price for these things, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see
Yeah.
how long this really takes. We don't know, and the longer it takes, the more stressed governments are going to be, and the harder it is for them to flow resources to people. So as this takes longer, it's people are going to have less money to spread around into things that are non-essential, and
Yeah.
we're going to start just worrying about the roof over our head and worrying about getting 3 square meals a day and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
just as that Maslow hierarchy keeps coming down for everyone,
Right.
that's where the economy is going to have to react. And housing is the number one. That's the very basic, is shelter. So
That's true.
it's a pretty recession proof in some ways, but in other ways, I hope I have some money at the end of this, because I think there'll be some incredible buying opportunities, just like there was in 2008.
I agree.
2008, I mean, I guess you and I are similar places in our career, but I think about 2008 and go, man, to have any capital during that, there was just layup investments everywhere.
I know. And 2008 was such a short period, and the market bounced back pretty aggressively after that. And that's what we're all hoping for throughout when we end this crisis.
Yeah. I hope it ends sooner rather than later. I don't want people to get too bummed out. What are we learning about investor behavior otherwise? Like, are you seeing the younger investors decide, like, hey, I'm going to take more of my own destiny into my own hands. I'm going to do more research. Are they reaching out to you guys to get more information about these companies? I know we've talked a lot about millennials.
Yeah.
Are they using this opportunity perhaps to learn more about the market? I mean, it's hard not to read about the market every day in the news.
Yeah, I think people are trying to learn a bit more, and that's why we're doing more, as I mentioned before, more thematic, more learning pieces rather than
Yeah.
about specific companies right now. And we're trying to really educate people on that. So we are having people reach out to us, and we're just trying to teach them more broadly about the market than individual stocks right now.
Right. And what format does that take for you guys? What channels are you guys really going to be promoting? So let's use this as a minute to talk about Grit Capital
Yeah.
and how you guys are going to get the word out for your audience.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're doing that. So these virtual conferences, before the Masters of Mining, we did one on ESG, which is a big investment trend.
Yep.
We had Nick Mersch from Purpose Investments talk on that. So we are doing that over our own kind of webcast platform, and it's really unique because it lets the investors ask questions back and forth, so they can really learn a lot. We're keeping them punchy. You're saying, before COVID, a 16-minute presentation was acceptable. Now we're really paring them back to kind of 10 minutes. So getting the information out there punchy. Every day we're featuring someone on our Instagram as well. We're going to be doing that at 10:30 a.m. So different themes, different thought leaders. And then, those would be the two main formats. So Instagram and webcast, I would say.
Instagram and webcasts. And what are you guys using for webcasting?
So we have two platforms. We have one called ON24. So we started, thankfully, we bought a license for that last year. The cost of that license has tripled, or maybe even more than tripled. So we locked that in, and we were pros using those for webcasts. So as soon as this switched over, we already had everything ready to go. And we've even been hosting webcasts for other people and other companies. And then for more of our one-on-one meetings, we've been using Zoom. We also did our first interview on Zoom today as well. Yeah. But obviously on Instagram, we've been on that for a bit, and we are just switching over to a new account and launching new branding. So tune in for that.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Nice fresh coat of paint.
Exactly.
Here's a question for you. So do you think, this is super hypothetical, will there be another business conference in person this year in Toronto?
No.
I agree.
Yeah, unfortunately, no. And you know what? On the other flip side, some of these travel budgets and some of these conference budgets were probably a little bloated. So I think this is a wake-up call for some CEOs. And I was just speaking with a CEO this afternoon, and for years, his wife had been saying, why do you need to travel to Zurich for these meetings? Why can't you do them by video? Yeah. And this is finally, I think, going to be the catalyst that is going to make us, I don't have to hop on a flight and go to Zurich for that meeting. I can do a virtual video conference and accomplish the same.
You fly over the ocean, you can't even shake a hand or give a hug. What's the point? So I think you're right. I think that we're going to have to, and look, I manage a budget. I get it. I'm actually kind of, I like the exercise this is forcing us to go through, which is what is of value, right? Yeah. What is the, Barrington, no chance on the hugging. That's right. So we had some reformed huggers watching here. It's just the way it's going to be. So I still think that there's going to be a need to meet people in person, but it's going to have to be a bit more based on yes, we need to be in a room, we need to do this, we need to sign the contract, we need to witness it.
Exactly.
Just going to some big random conference and maybe running into something. I didn't like that already, and now we're kind of being forced to rethink that whole thing. So it's a bit of a relief, to be honest. But
I agree.
That being said, if there's ever an opportunity to go back to Israel and float the Dead Sea and not get food poisoning, I'd be super down with that. And obviously going and witnessing other cultures, I think that's one thing we don't necessarily get through a phone conversation.
No. Yeah, just personal and vacation travel. And we'll get back there. It's just going to be slow and steady. And our mindset is going to be changed for a while. Yeah,
no, absolutely. All right. And any last tips? How are you holding up in the in the isolation chamber and in your neighborhood?
You know what? Because I worked from home before, it hasn't been as big of changes as it has been for other people. Because I would normally, on a normal day, only go downtown maybe once a week, twice a week. So for me, and I had the Peloton, so I already had a pretty good routine at home. So I'm surviving well. I'm some days it's frustrating, but overall I'm doing well. I'm, thankful for my health, thankful for my family, thankful for my job and our business. So I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, the first week was tough, and then you start to realize, oh, we're all in this together. And
Yeah.
again, having the children around, it keeps things fresh every day.
Yeah.
We are hiring a nanny just to bring in and basically help manage the kids so we
Yeah.
can do our jobs because my wife is going back to work. So there's changes
Yeah.
happening, that's all I can ask for. The weather's changing too, which is great. But yeah, I never thought I'd have to go through this. It's something
No,
different. Yeah.
no,
And I think the one thing we've emphasized, and I'll give a shout out again to Richard, and what we've been doing every day is just reaching out to the team and just making sure everyone's, staying in touch, making sure there's a
yeah,
dialogue, making sure there's an update. And being an
yeah,
essential service that we are, it's nice to have that sort of foundation that we know that unless stuff really hits the fan, we're not going anywhere.
yeah. And you guys have a great group of people that you work with, so that's nice.
I think so. And this whole situation has just been a reminder that it's a great team and everyone here has got each other's back. So when you got all that stuff, it's not so bad. In fact, in some ways, it's an improvement. So
Exactly.
yeah, it's been good. How can people keep in touch with Grit and stay on top of the new branding and everything like that?
Yeah, so the new account is Grit, GRIT, capital CAPITAL. And new branding is launching, so watch out for that, and you can message us on that account.
And you guys put out a weekly newsletter on Sundays, which I always find is a fun little read every Sunday before I go to bed. Are you going to still do that?
Maybe.
Email's still important.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Perfect. Well, thanks for
Anybody
this.
have questions? Anyone questions for Nicole? She asked a lot of good questions of me, but if anyone has questions, I'll check the question box here. I'm not seeing anything. I was going to ask you about esports actually before I forgot.
That's Jen's bucket.
Well, ask Jen.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give a shout out because on this account we've got another show tomorrow. We got West Coast Wednesdays. I believe that's at 2:15, and that's going to be with ePlay Digital. So we'll be talking esports. Thursday we've got Robin Rabinovich from Hill and Knowlton. So again, 2:15, we're talking about the cannabis space. And then on your channel next Monday, we've got Richard Carlton, CEO of the Canadian Securities Exchange, and he's going to be talking to Genevieve Rockdector about the markets and some of the stuff that we've observed over the last, at that point, over a month of quarantine. So
perfect.
So anyways, I want to thank you again, Nicole. That was awesome. Keep well. Make sure your dog is getting its vet appointments on its phone. Yeah. And if I had a Peloton, I'd see you there, but I don't. So enjoy everything else that you have at your disposal, and enjoy your plant-based food. And until then, we will we'll talk to you soon.
We will be in touch. Thank you.
Yeah, we will.
Have a good
Thanks,
day, everyone.
Nicole.
Bye-bye.
Later.